Have you ever felt like life was testing you? Like every decision you made carried a weight so heavy it could crush your soul if things went wrong? That's exactly how Ryan Dawson felt the morning he decided to step into his own steakhouse as a customer. He wasn't just any owner. He was someone who had poured blood, sweat, and tears into building something from nothing. But today, he wasn't there to check inventory or oversee operations. No, today he wanted to feel what it meant to be on the other side of the counter. What do you think drives someone to take such a step? Let me know in the comments below. And hey, where are you watching this from? Don't forget to hit that like button if you believe kindness should always come first. Let's dive in. Ryan adjusted the collar of his jacket as he pushed open the glass door of the iron grill, the steakhouse he'd spent years building. It smelled familiar, rich with herbs, butter, and charred perfection wafting through the air. For a moment, he stood frozen, letting nostalgia wash over him. This place wasn't just a business. It was his dream, a dream born out of failure after failure, late nights filled with doubt, and sacrifices he still couldn't fully explain to anyone else. He walked up to the counter, trying not to draw attention to himself. His baseball cap was pulled low, shielding his face, though he knew most employees wouldn't recognize him anyway. "One ribeye steak," he said softly, pulling out an old wallet he hadn't used in years. As he waited for his order, his mind wandered back to the early days when this restaurant was nothing more than a sketch on a napkin. Back then, all he cared about was making people happy, one meal at a time. Somewhere along the way, that passion seemed to fade under the pressure of running a successful business. As Ryan leaned against the counter, two voices caught his ear. They belonged to two cashiers chatting quietly behind him. One was Mia, a young woman with a warm smile and bright eyes, and the other was Lucas, a shy teenager struggling to find his footing in the world. Their conversation tugged at something deep inside Ryan, stopping him cold. "Did you hear about her?" Mia whispered, her tone laced with concern. "She works doubles almost every week just to pay rent." Lucas sighed heavily. "Yeah, I know. My mom does the same thing sometimes. You'd think working here would make life easier, but it doesn't." "Not really." Ryan's chest tightened. He turned slightly, pretending to check his phone while straining to hear more. "It's not fair," Mia continued, her voice trembling now. "We work hard, follow all the rules, and yet we're barely surviving. Meanwhile, some people sit back and watch us struggle without lifting a finger." Her words hit Ryan like a punch to the gut. Was she talking about him? About owners like him? He swallowed hard, feeling the guilt rise in his throat. He wanted to defend himself, to tell them how much effort went into keeping the restaurant afloat, but he stayed silent. Instead, he listened closer, hoping to understand what they truly thought. Lucas shifted uncomfortably before speaking again. "You ever wonder what it'd be like if someone actually cared enough to help? Like, really cared. Not just gave us empty promises or patted us on the back during meetings." Mia laughed bitterly. "I stopped wondering a long time ago. People only care when it benefits them." Ryan clenched his fists beneath the counter. Those words stung worse than anything he'd heard in years. He prided himself on being different, on caring deeply about his employees. Yet here were two of them doubting everything he stood for. Doubting him. The irony wasn't lost on him either. Here he was, standing right in front of them, disguised as a regular customer, unable to speak up even though he desperately wanted to. Why did it have to be this way? Why did fear keep him rooted to the spot instead of stepping forward? When his order finally arrived, Ryan took it with shaky hands. He thanked the server mechanically and found a seat near the window. Outside, the world moved on, oblivious to the storm raging inside him. He picked at his steak absent-mindedly, each bite tasting dull compared to the whirlwind of emotions swirling within him. For hours after leaving the restaurant, Ryan couldn't shake off the conversation. Every word replayed in his head like a broken record. That night, sleep eluded him entirely. He tossed and turned, staring at the ceiling, wrestling with questions he didn't want to face. Had he become one of those bosses everyone complained about? Someone who built success on the backs of others without truly seeing their struggles? Determined to change, Ryan came up with a plan. Over the next few weeks, he started spending less time in his office and more time interacting with his staff. At first, they were hesitant, unsure why their boss suddenly seemed so interested in their lives. But slowly, walls began to crumble. He learned about Mia's younger brother, who needed expensive medical treatment. He discovered that Lucas lived in a tiny apartment with his mother, juggling school and work to ease her burden. Each story broke his heart a little more but also fueled his resolve to do better. One evening, Ryan called a meeting. Everyone gathered in the dining area, curious and slightly nervous. When Ryan stepped onto the makeshift stage, the room fell silent. He cleared his throat, his voice steady despite the lump in it. "I've been doing a lot of thinking lately," he began, "and I realized something important. Running this place isn't just about profits or accolades. It's about people. All of you. Without your hard work, none of this would exist. So starting tomorrow, I'm implementing new policies. Better wages, flexible schedules, and bonuses based on performance. Because you deserve it." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Some looked skeptical while others wiped away tears. Mia raised her hand hesitantly. "Why now?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Ryan smiled sadly. "Because I finally woke up, and I hope it's not too late." Months passed, and the Iron Grill thrived like never before. Employees worked harder, knowing their efforts were valued. Customers noticed the difference too, the warmth, the genuine smiles, the sense of community. Word spread quickly, turning the restaurant into a local favorite. One day, as Ryan stood by the entrance greeting guests, Mia approached him. Her eyes shone with gratitude. "Thank you," she said simply, "for listening, for caring." Ryan nodded, blinking back tears. "No, thank you," he replied, "for reminding me what really matters." Life taught Ryan a valuable lesson that year. True success isn't measured by wealth or fame, but by the impact you leave on others' lives. By choosing kindness over indifference, empathy over ignorance, he transformed not only his business but himself as well. So what about you? Have you ever taken a step back to see the bigger picture? To recognize the struggles of those around you and offer a helping hand? If the story resonated with you, share your thoughts in the comments below. And remember, no matter where you're watching from, kindness costs nothing, but its value is priceless.